So Dr. Parker, I would like to give you a proper introduction. So many of you don't realize that Dr. Parker actually has a training class just on ionized water. So when I was introduced to this water 7 years ago, I started educating people, and I didn't really know how the water worked. And we have a lot of scientists in our area. And they kept saying, well, Amanda, this sounds great, but how is it working? And I was like stumped. I was like, I have no idea. So I found her online, and I seen she had a program, and it's that program that made me, I feel, be so successful because I understood what this water was doing. And so for that year that I studied with you, I couldn't believe how my sales just changed. I went from not knowing anything to knowing so much. I'm so thankful that you were able to provide that class for people. So Dr. Parker has been a fantastic friend of mine now. We've been connected for probably around 5 years. And I just enjoy her. She's a wealth of knowledge, and I can't wait for you guys to learn some of the information she's going to teach you here tonight. So with that, Dr. Parker, please come out.
All right. Well, just in case we lose. As Amanda said, I'm Dr. Peggy Parker. I'm a naturopath and a European biological medicine physician. And so I'm just going to give you kind of the distinction of what those things mean. So a naturopath really believes in nature's cure. So we look, when patients come to us with symptoms, we look at the symptoms and we say, okay, well, this herb or this homeopathic or this tincture or that diet or that or nature cures. But they're basically treating symptoms, and most naturopaths actually have a specialty. Most like most MDs, you have a cardiologist and a podiatrist and a whatever. Well, naturopaths tend to specialize too. So some study was European biological medicine, and the reason was that I wanted to start to understand why people had what they had and how I could treat that illness or that malady from the source. And so I started studying European biological medicine with a doctor from Switzerland named Dr. Thomas Rau. And that was a 2-year-long, really extensive course, and I learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned, is something kind of interesting. So, and we're going to get there throughout this slide. So I just want you to look at this slide and see how many disease processes there are. And if you have a family history of anyone in your family that has any of these things, whether it's Alzheimer's or macular degeneration or allergies or nephritis or rheumatoid arthritis, healthcare professionals will say that you have a much higher risk factor for developing that disease process. And so that is the whole crux of how they operate in medicine, is that they're going to say, if this is part of your picture of DNA, you have a high likelihood of developing this. And so I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure most of you do. A few years ago, when Angelina Jolie decided that because she had a family history of certain kinds of cancer, she basically had all of her female parts removed. She had her breasts removed, she had her uterus removed, she had a lot of things removed in an attempt to avoid cancer, which didn't really work for her because she ended up having some issues with cancer. And the thing that I want you to understand as a naturopath, but especially as a European biological medicine doc, is that your DNA is not your destiny. It truly is not. I am here to tell you that our bodies are amazing healing machines. I want you to think about something kind of important. When was the last time you got a cut or a scrape or a burn and your body didn't heal it within a few hours or a few days? Your body is born with the innate ability to send agents to destroy bacteria, to send antioxidants, to heal and restore tissues. Your body knows how to heal itself. And it is my sincere belief that if we truly cooperate with our bodies, that our bodies could truly, truly, truly heal themselves of anything. And I'm going to explain to you how I came there. So, when I was in my biological medicine classes, this is what we were told. Dr. Rao just like hammered this in our brains. If you can create a slight shift in the pH of blood, urine, and saliva, this is a really minute shift. And if you could reduce oxidation on tissues, and if you could get more minerals into cells, a body could heal itself of anything. Now you might say, you know, is a brain disorder anything? Is high blood pressure anything? You know, every time somebody says, well, what about, it's anything. Like that falls into that category of anything. And so this is the very thing that I learned in this order when I was in my biological medicine class. So we really looked at the pH. We looked at the pH. We looked at the pH. And we just didn't really talk too much about oxidation because quite honestly, nobody at that time had a good way to really reduce oxidation very significantly. And we talked a lot about getting more minerals into the cells, but I can tell you that I had an interesting thing happen in that I was, I'd already graduated and I was going back to classes, and I took my Enagic water machine with me and I started talking because I first learned about ionized water from Dr. Rao. He was using what's now called the Nakai machine, and really recommended it. I bought one and nothing good happened. And my patients hated it. They didn't have any good test results. So it took a long time for me to get convinced to try an Enagic machine because I'd already had an experience and I didn't have a good one. So I was really sick, which I'll tell you all about sometime. And a friend of mine kept talking to me about it, so I finally gave in and tried it, and it was a miracle. It really was. I was so sick for so long, and during a meeting, I drank 4 16-ounce glasses of 9.5 water, and all of my symptoms disappeared for 2 full days, and so I knew there was something. So I got a machine and I took it home, and I started doing some informal clinical trial studies. And the first thing that I figured out was that this whole thing was out of order, because first you have to reduce the oxidation, and when you do that, the proper pH inside the cell can be achieved, and minerals can get into the cells, and that way bodies can heal themselves of anything. And so the thing that I want you to know is that this water contains so many benefits, but the biggest one is all about reducing that oxidation. It's all about the antioxidant property of the water, and that's why your DNA is no longer your destiny. Because you can make significant changes on your cell membranes. It doesn't matter what the cell is. It doesn't matter if it's in your liver, or if it's in your brain, if it's in your kidneys or on your skin or into your body. Your body knows what to do with them, and it sends all of its forces where it's needed. And so it doesn't matter. You don't have to apply the water to your brain, which we haven't really figured out a good way to do that, except by drinking it, right? And so by drinking the water, your body is intelligent. It knows what to do. It knows how to heal itself. So it will send the antioxidants where they need to go and begin to change that whole picture in a pretty dramatic way. Some things take a while, and that's really dependent on the tissue that needs the most attention. For instance, a skin cell doesn't last very long, but a liver cell lasts 500 days. So, the cells in your small intestine only last about a day and a half, but but your liver cells last 500 days. So which one's going to change faster, right? So this is all stuff that's so important for you to know, and to know why the water works the way it does and how it works the way it does, and to understand that it doesn't matter what you've been diagnosed with or what's in your family history. If you can create a slight shift in the pH of your cells by reducing oxidation, which will then let you get more minerals into your cells, your body, your family's bodies, your friends' bodies, everyone's bodies could heal themselves of anything. Now, Amanda showed you some pictures of some books, and here's the whole slew of what I've written. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the books because I wrote them to help you help other people. That was the reason that I wrote them, because I used to teach a lot of classes, and I used to travel all around the country and do a lot of courses, and but I could never reach as many people. I couldn't help them as much as just writing some books so that you'd have it in your hand to be able to show people. So the 3 books that Amanda showed you, Your Home, A Chemical-Free Sanctuary, which helps you learn how to use all the different pHs of the water to replace household cleaners with ionized water. So not only does that make your house chemical free, it saves you tons of money. So it's a value added bonus of having a really good high quality water ionizer. And then using ionized water in the kitchen, it goes through cleaning tips, but mostly it tells you how to make coffee and tea that have high antioxidants. It tells you how to cook all kinds of things, clean all kinds of vegetables. It's pretty valuable. It's traditionally been the book that sells the most, with ionized water protocols being, kind of a tie overall. So ionized water protocols, that book took me about 10 years to figure out all of the protocols. And so I started with myself, and then I would, if it worked for me, I'd have a bunch of other people try it, just to make sure that it wasn't just that I wasn't a one-trick pony. So it's everything from the top of your head to the toes, to your toes, including fungal toenails, and even children and babies and pets. It takes you through step by step by step by step by step how to use the water and which pH water to use, followed by another pH water to handle almost everything from your hair falling out or dandruff all the way to fungal toenails and every part of you that's in between. So those are the 3 kind of how-to books. And then the other 3 are books that were written to help you explain to other people how this water works in your body, how it makes that shift, how an ionizer actually works, how it creates antioxidants. And so each one of them was written for a specific reason. And the very first one I wrote was, If Bodies Heal Themselves, Then Why Am I Still Sick? And so that's for chronically ill people, because in my practice as a naturopath, and I'm sure a lot of you have friends that have these chronic illnesses, and they will try any and everything to get better. And most of the time it doesn't work. And it's really because their cells are so oxidized that nothing can get in them to really help them significantly. And so if that book was intended for people who are quite, have those chronic illnesses. And then there were all these other people that would say, well, I'm a really healthy person. I don't really feel like I need that. And so that's when I wrote, Are You Confused? And it's a real story about oxidation and antioxidants, because, every day there's be a different study that said you need this many and this thing was good, and then somebody else will say that, So I wanted everybody to understand something really important about antioxidants that are in your foods. So this is a little thing that most of you don't know, is that when you eat blueberries and blackberries and acai berries and all the other high kale, all the other foods that are high in both vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, all of those antioxidants, once you consume them, do help, but they never stop the cycle of oxidation because when they're doing their antioxidant job, they become a free radical oxidizer. Now, they're a gentle one as compared to the really bad one that they neutralize, but that's why just diet alone and supplements will never do what ionized water can do. Because ionized water contains antioxidants that do not become weak free radicals once they do their job. So I discovered that back in 2005, and I've been talking about it ever since. And then it addresses everything about how the ionizer works and how free radicals work and all those kinds of things. So, those are the 6 booklets that I wrote to help you be informed and to have something in picture form. You know that old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words? Well, when you have the turning back the hands of time, or are you confused, or if bodies heal themselves and why am I still sick, and you can show them these pictures of how oxidation happens, what free radicals do to your cell. That's why I wrote those, because I wanted to help you. And then, because I used to be a chef for a long time before I became a naturopath, and I have my own allergy issues, and most people do and don't even know it, I wrote a cookbook called OMG, That's Allergy Free. And it is all delicious gourmet style, not all hard to make, but taste like they were hard to make. Wheat-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and gluten-free foods. And so they're using better alternatives. And so it has, I can't remember how many pages it has, but I have one right here, I'll tell you. It has a lot of pages, I will tell you that. It was a real labor of love. It has 236 pages, and there's multiple recipes on some pages. So you have a lot of different kinds of recipes that you can cook to enhance your body. Because if you got sick eating, if you got sick eating junk food and you turn gluten-free, and you're eating most of the prepared foods that are gluten-free, you have substituted what I like to call a Twinkie for a gluten-free Twinkie, and I've never seen anyone get well that way. And so really this is all about creating delicious comfort foods that are really, really healthy and filled with antioxidants, and use ionized water in all the recipes. So, and then the first in the first few pages that are my top 30 nutritional all-stars, with ionized water being the very first one. So I think you will enjoy that book as well. So one of the things that Amanda asked me to talk about, and I want to take you to the book Ionized Water Protocols, because I want to talk to you about how you drink the water to achieve maximum help with digestion and overall health. There are really specific reasons that you need to drink water in this specific way. And so when you buy your copy of Ionized Water Protocols, if you haven't already, the protocol starts on page 4, and it takes you through how your digestive system works. And so then it takes you through why you need to do certain things with your protocol for drinking water, and then it takes you through the directions. So I'm going to kind of give you a digestive overview, because most illnesses actually start in the gut. So if you're not digesting your foods properly, if you have some food allergies, if you're not getting enough fluids, or you're drinking at the wrong times, you can actually create a lot of digestive issues. So then your food's not breaking down and your body's not getting fed properly. So I want to kind of explain how your digestion works. So I want you to think about the fact that the first part of your digestion starts in your mouth while you're chewing your food. So all the carbohydrates are going to get coated with amylase, which is a digestive enzyme that is only in your saliva. So if you don't chew very well, you already start with a in the negative when it comes to digestion, because you're not coating your food with enough of those enzymes to break it down. And then that food goes, you swallow it and it gets into the stomach, and the stomach needs to be very acidic in order to digest food properly. And that's where all the parasites should be broken down, what we were talking about. For those of you who came in later, we were talking about parasites earlier. Your body has a self-sustaining mechanism for getting rid of parasites, and that's in your stomach. So if you have enough acid in your stomach, you won't have any problems with parasites. And then the food goes from your stomach directly into the small intestine. And oddly enough, it went from a really acidic environment, and now that new environment's supposed to be really alkaline. And if it isn't, then the pancreas won't release pancreatic enzymes to finish digesting the protein, and then you're kind of, out of luck when it comes to digestion. So back when I had a medical spa years ago in Idaho, I had a really expensive and very complicated routine that I put people through, taking all kinds of supplements and drinking. We were drinking reverse osmosis water, and kind of taking them through this. And then once I got my ionizer, I'm like, wow, I think I could do that protocol with just water. And I tried it, and it actually worked better than all the other stuff, because it retrains your body on when it's supposed to produce certain things, and it helps balance the pHs. It's amazing. Anyway, so because we have these different pHs that need to exist, what I want people to do, or to consider doing, is that as many times a day as you can fit it in. And at the beginning, it's kind of important to get this routine down so that you're doing it with all of your meals. And then after you've done it for 500 days, because that's how long liver cells last, then you can start really slacking off. But in those first 500 days, to do it as many meals a day as you can. And that is 45 minutes before a meal, you're going to drink a small amount of very alkaline water. So you're going to drink about a quarter cup of this strong alkaline water. And you're going to immediately follow that with your regular drinking water, whether you're drinking 8.5 or 9 or 9.5. You want to follow that with, and there's a formula in here that tells you how, figure out how much you're supposed to drink based on body weight and exercise and that kind of thing. But then you would drink some 9.5 water. And then if you're taking any supplements like digestive enzymes and get that kind of thing, you swallow them with that 9.5 water. And now you wait 45 minutes before you have anything else. And then with the very first bites of your meal, in order to create a really acidic environment in your stomach, you take a couple of tablespoons of the very strong acid water with your first bites of food. Now, for anyone who has acid reflux, this will, in 99.99% of cases, this will eliminate acid reflux. Because acid reflux doesn't happen because you have too much stomach acid. It happens because you don't have enough stomach acid, and the sphincter between your esophagus and your stomach won't close if there's not enough acid in there. So this helps retrain your body to make enough hydrochloric acid to make digestion complete. And then after you eat, you don't drink anything for at least 30 minutes. And if you start paying attention, you'll notice when you're finished with digestion. And then you can start drinking water again. But basically, the amount of water that you're going to drink throughout the day is, so you take your body weight. So because it's easy, let's take 150 pounds. And you're going to drink half of that body weight in ounces. So 150 divided in half is 75 ounces. So it's because half of 150 is 75. So that's the number of ounces that you would drink a day. And we kind of break it up, and so that you're drinking like 12 ounces at a time. And some water you can sip throughout the day, but other times you have to drink a whole lot at one time. So I want you to think about when you're flushing out toxins, when you're after you've exercised, if you're going through a cleanse, if you're having any symptoms when you first start drinking the water. You have to think about it kind of the way you flush a toilet. Like, you cannot flush solid waste out of a toilet if you only use a teaspoon at a time, right? You have to put a whole bunch of water in order to get it out. It's the same thing with our bodies. We have to drink a bunch of water at one time. So I usually like to see people do that first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day, you know, you can kind of sip. It's good to have 2 or 3 times a day when you're drinking a lot of water at once, you know, some at least 10 ounces. But this is all in the formula. It kind of helps you understand how much water to drink when, based on your body weight and your exercise level and whether you're in a hot or a cold climate. And then there are some of us who are constitutionally not thirsty. We already have damp constitutions, and there are people who have hot, dry constitutions, and they're thirsty all the time. Those of us who have a damp constitution, we have to make ourselves drink water. And the people who have a hot or an arid constitution, it's all about Chinese medicine. They crave drinking water all the time. But I will tell you that if it's been difficult for you to drink water and you start doing this water protocol, you will train yourself to be thirsty at the right times.
And being that it's New Year's resolution, I know a lot of people are trying to lose weight. Can you educate us on how this is going to help people break down more body fat?
So when you digest your food properly, a couple of things happen. You get satiated with less food. Because when you are not digesting your foods properly and you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals and protein into your cells, your body's going to keep asking for food until you get enough food in there that it's getting what it needs. And then you can kind of make yourself get in a habit of eating more food than your body actually requires. So the other thing to keep in mind is that when you're drinking enough water, your body doesn't ask for things like oranges or, you know, like juicier fruits. If you are not drinking enough water, your body's going to ask you to eat things that have a high water content because it needs fluid. And so by giving it what it needs, it's going to quit asking for the things it doesn't need. And that alone makes a huge difference. If you're in the habit of drinking things like sodas and, you know, all juices and things like that, they do have a lot of fluid in them, but it's not the same as water because they all require your digestion to be involved in breaking them down so your body can utilize it. But water's not like that. Water doesn't need to be digested. So it passes directly from your stomach into your small intestine, and then it's taken up into your bloodstream, and then your body quits asking for fluid-filled foods. The other thing is that if you're drinking enough water and you're drinking it properly, you really do begin to notice that you are not very hungry. You're not as hungry as you used to be. And that really helps. Drinking the 11.5 or the strong alkaline water before a meal to get that small intestine nice and alkaline like it's supposed to be so it'll properly digest food. It also helps properly digest fat. And that makes a huge difference. Now, as you're drinking the water and your cells begin to lose that layer of oxidation, which at some point maybe we can get into at a later date, the issue is that now all these nutrients can get into the cells more effectively. And that also helps your body not ask for foods as frequently. So there's about a dozen or more ways that the water helps you. It helps as your liver's getting cleaned up. That makes a huge difference in your hormonal swings and your ability to digest fats. Because when you have an excess of toxins in your body, whether it's heavy metals, or I've had a few recent exposures to mold. And so I can always tell when that happens because I start ballooning up a bit. And I know it's because I'm kind of susceptible to the toxins in mold. My body really hates it. So when those sorts of things happen, when your body has more toxins than your liver can handle, your liver becomes overloaded, your body stores the toxins away in a fat cell. So fat is nature's Tupperware to store toxins that would otherwise be really harmful to your body. So as you start cleaning up your liver can handle the toxins, and so the fat starts to be able to release the toxins and go away. Does that make sense? So sometimes, for some people, their livers are in pretty good shape, and so that starts happening lickety split. For some of us, it took 500 days for that to kick in for me, and every time I stray, it comes back again. So it's always a barometer of how well I've been taking care of my environment, whether or not I have extra pounds to lose.
Thank you for that. And one other question I have too is people that have been on acid reflux medication for years, what are they going to start to notice? And what do those things side effect wise cause within the body because of being on them for so long?
You know, the real danger of these drugs for people who have been taking for a long time is that they actually are, a lot of the acid reflux drugs are protein. They inhibit the release of acid to break down the protein, because traditional philosophy says if you have acid reflux, it's because you have too much stomach acid. So they shut down the pumps that would normally release hydrochloric acid to digest your food. And so what happens is that people go through years and years and years and years and years of never digesting protein very well, which can cause colon cancer, number one. The number one thing it causes is colon cancer. But the drugs themselves have to be processed by the liver, and so there's a lot of issues with fatty liver development. I mean, the truth of the matter is that statins to help with cholesterol and protein. What is it? Well, the inhibitors that like the purple pill. What are they called?
Protein pump inhibitors, or
it's not protein. It's
starts with a Z, doesn't it?
Yeah, Zicam. Is that it?
Omeprazole.
Yes,
yeah.
Omeprazole.
What they do is, like I said, they inhibit your stomach from releasing acid, and so then you're cell by cell, your body starts to suffer because it's not getting enough protein, it's not getting enough fat, it's not getting enough of anything, and you're actually wearing away parts of your esophagus for a different reason. When you have acid reflux, that burns it and can cause some real difficulties health-wise. But there are other things that start happening on the opposite end of the esophagus as you're going into the small intestine, because there is not enough acid to kill the parasites, the viruses, the bacteria. And so you get a lot more of that action making it out of the stomach into the small intestine and into the colon. So that's when you see a lot more parasitic infections, a lot more ulcers developing, all kinds of things like that. So by just retraining your body how to do what it's supposed to do, just, doesn't it just make sense that that's a better way to treat your body, is just cooperate with it? Absolutely. So do you want to see if anybody's got any other questions about protocols today so for those of you who don't know, I have a Facebook page called Simple Health Network, and you can get on there and post some questions, or see what I've posted as articles or whatever. Anyway, there was a person who was asking about the fact that she'd been drinking this water and she was having a reaction where her face was getting kind of swollen around her eyes. So that, people have some concerns, and as long as it's in a public forum where, I can answer and lots of people can read it, I'm happy to answer a few questions. And so if you haven't liked that page, that's a good one to follow if you have some questions.
Great.
So do you want to open it up for some questions?
Sure. So you can actually unmute yourself at any time. So if anybody does have a question, just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, Dr. Peggy Parker.
Hello.
My name is June Brown. And my question is there a water protocol for gout?
Yes. And gout is too much uric acid, so you want to do the kidney protocol for gout. That's the first place to start. And then you want to do the digestive protocol because your body's not breaking down certain kinds of fat very well when you have gout. So following that water protocol very specifically. So is the gout showing up in extremities like toes?
Yes.
Okay, so then doing a soak in strong alkaline water every night, foot soak, it's really helpful because you're getting antioxidants. Your skin is a great delivery system for all kinds of nutrition and these antioxidants. So soaking your feet in some strong alkaline water, as well as following the water protocol, and then going to, let me see what page it's on, to the kidney protocol and really working with the kidneys. That is really helpful. I'm going the wrong direction.
It's on 31.
It's on page 30 and 31.
Okay. And my second question is, my grandson was a Kangen baby. His mother drank Kangen water throughout her 9-month pregnancy. So now he's 3 months old. What pH water should he be drinking?
All right, in this book, all about the babies, I will tell you that, hold on, I'm going to see what page that's on. That's on page 435. Is he drinking just water or formula? And I was breastfeeding because they didn't tend to like it that much, and I drank a lot of water. So as long as she's drinking plenty of water, it's not really that important, but you can feed your babies after they're 3 months old. And I do want to always say this, it's very important for you to know what's in the water in your municipality, to know what's in your water and use a proper water filter for your location. And then giving a baby anything from 8.0 to 9.5 is fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You can make very strong acid water without using the solution if you're concerned about having too much salt. You just have to slow your water down till it's barely coming through. And it will make very strong. It won't be quite 2.5, but it would be strong enough if you just slow it down really hard.
Does that go with the 11.5 water too, Dr. Parker?
Now it won't emulsify fat, and the low pH won't be a good germ killer. The reason for the solution is to add more minerals, specific minerals in the water, which is mostly sodium, to increase the flow of electricity through the water so that more of the water molecules are split up to create the pHs. And then you wait 30 minutes after you eat, and then, or 45, depending on how slow your digestion is. And then you can start drinking again. And basically what you're going to drink in a day is to take your body weight, divide that in half, and that's the number of ounces you need. So if you weighed 100 pounds, you would drink 50 ounces of water. If you weighed 150 pounds, you'd drink 75 ounces of water. If you weighed 200 pounds, you'd drink 100 ounces of water. That's just sort of average.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I have a roommate who has a hard time drinking or eating without drinking anything. How would you go about taking care of that?
Doesn't chew enough, because if you need water or some other fluid to wash your food down, it's because you didn't chew it long enough. And it does take practice. And so if he was going to have water, like he needed a little sip of water throughout the meal, I'd be having him drink that 2.5, and he won't like it, so he'll get real used to not having it. Or she, whoever. And but pretty quickly. But really, it's so critical not to add more water to or other fluids to your food, because it dilutes the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and then that starts messing up.
You have one more? Do I have time for one more quick question here? Diabetes runs in my family, and I want to explain to my grandma in a simple way how it could help her, or if I don't know if it can at this stage. She's getting older and has had diabetes for a while. I didn't know what a simple way to explain to her would be.
So in that book, Turning Back the Hands of Time, that will help you explain better than anything. Because what it's going to do is explain how she got diabetes in the first place. And that also, that she wasn't no longer able to get enough minerals, enough protein, enough enzymes into her pancreas to produce enough insulin and then release it at the right time. And that's what started her downward spiral from pre-diabetic states into diabetes. And so when she starts drinking this water, according to the it's going to start changing her pancreas by reducing the oxidation so that her pancreas begins to get enough nutrition into it, into the cells like they need it. And then the body will be able to make more insulin.
Okay. Dr. Park, if you can speak up a little bit, it's hard to hear you.
Oh, sorry. And so I have kind of a soft voice. So once the pancreas has enough nutrition to be able to start healing itself on a cellular level, it starts to produce insulin. It starts to release insulin. And additionally, all the other areas, because people who have diabetes tend to have more problems with their kidneys, they have more problems with their heart, they have more problems with their circulatory system. And so it begins to work on all of those areas as well. So diabetic neuropathy begins to get better. Circulation begins to improve, so they quit having so much swelling in their extremities, and they have much lower chance of losing a foot or a toe or whatever. Their kidneys start to get revitalized. Their liver starts to get revitalized. It makes a huge difference in every organ and glandular system in the body. And that's where that book, Turning Back the Hands of Time, will really help you explain all of that to her. So it's kind of complicated, and so it's harder to, in a really short answer to a question, it's harder to explain it.
I understand. I'll have to get that book. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I did have somebody reach out to me a little bit about acne, how the water can help acne from spraying, and then also by using the water internally with just drinking it.
So your skin is a direct reflection of what's going on with internal organs, particularly your liver. So if your liver's kind of in a bad state, your skin is generally in kind of a bad state. And so you want to always take care of the liver, and that starts changing your skin. But you could work from the inside out as well as the outside in. When you have acne, working from the outside in is really helpful. So what happens with acne is that the body produces, it kind of usually has an oily film on it. And so it's important to start with strong alkaline water, and that you have to use the solution, because you want to have it be able to emulsify the fat that's on the top of the skin. So once you take that layer of oil off, then you apply to places where acne is active some 2.5 water. And then that kills the bacteria, which makes those breakouts start shrinking because they're all inflamed. But then you have to rebalance the skin, because the skin on your body really loves to live in a slightly acidic environment. It has to, because that's what protects us from having bacteria and viruses invade our skin all the time. So it stays slightly acidic. So you need to go back to that, what would be a setting on your machine of beauty water, or somewhere in the pH range of 4 to 6, to do a final rinse and pat dry, and then everything starts changing pretty rapidly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is Margaret in Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you for doing this tonight.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to ask on the electrolysis solution, when you're drinking the 11.5 before eating, do you want to take that out and just drink the high alkaline water versus the actual emulsifying water?
I always drink the emulsifying water, but I also make my own solution. So all it is saline. It has a tiny bit of preservative in it, but it's so minuscule. And it's actually pretty naturally occurring. When you produce saline, it has certain properties that are preservatives. It just happens. So I'm not concerned personally. You get to be concerned about it if you want.
What was that?
She can be concerned about it if she'd like to be.
Right.
I'm not here to tell everybody what.
I guess I was more concerned about it working if I didn't have the solution in it.
It doesn't have the ability to emulsify fat. But
Gotcha.
if you've been doing that protocol for some time, your pancreas and your gallbladder and your liver are now starting to work properly, and so then you could certainly bypass the solution tank and still come out just fine.
Awesome. And I have another question about the 2.5 and putting it in or near the eye.
I never recommend that.
And I'm curious as to that, because of eye infections, we can address other infections with it. So why is it that you don't want it to enter the eye?
Because it's highly oxidizing, and your eyes already have to deal with a lot of oxidation from the environment. And it can lead to things like cataracts and some really unfortunate eye issues. And honestly, I mentioned earlier that most bacteria, viruses, etc., cannot live at either end of the pH scale. So it's much safer to fight infection with antioxidants when it comes to your eyes. And so using strong alkaline water, which is closer to tears, what your tears should be, and using it, the enhancer, so that it does have that extra salt in it, will do a world of good for your eyes on a regular basis, not just during an infection. You can take a rag or a piece of gauze and put 2.5 water and rest it on the outside of your eye. And it will penetrate the skin, and you will get some of that antibacterial, antimicrobial action going on without putting a lot of oxidizers directly.
Zero. Done speaking.
That makes sense, Margaret?
Yes, thank you so much. That's great.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
This is Sal from Jersey. How are you, Peggy? Thank you for doing this. My question is the potency of the 11.5 and the 2.5 when you're using it topically or internally. Is it best to have that aged, or is better right from the machine right then and there? Because I've noticed that even with the 2.5 has a tendency to smell more chlorinated the next day as opposed to from directly from the machine.
That's because the gas is escaping. And so if you can smell it more, it's not as powerful. Because the gas is being released from the water, and it's the gas, it's the gas that's trapped in the water that causes it to be effective. But hydrogen is highly volatile, and ionized hydrogen is more volatile. And so when you're having hydrogen gas in the 11.5 water or the 9.5 water, when that 11.5 water is in a bottle and it starts to smell like ozone, you know that gas is escaping. It's not trapped in the fluid anymore. And it's the same in the strong acid water. When it smells more like chlorine, that's because that gas is escaping. So it's still good, but it's not as good for severe problems. So I really recommend that you make it fresh. Now, when the high alkaline water is most effective for cleaning and fat emulsification is when it's older and the calcium has all settled to the bottom of the container. So once the calcium has dissipated out, it does a better job of emulsifying fat. So for laundry and things like that, it works fine. Because we're not worried about antioxidants when we're doing laundry, right? We're worried about we want it to saponify things and lift them out of our fabrics. We're not concerned about antioxidants. But when you're talking about food, for protocols for health, you're concerned about the antioxidant properties. So that's why fresh is better. And when it comes to disinfecting, it works a little bit better when it's fresher. And after about 3 or 4 days, it's a lot less effective.
Awesome. Yeah, that answers it perfectly. I had one more question. It's for I'm not sure if you can go this far, but I'm sure you can. For open wounds, using that 2.5 to actually take care of bacteria. Is it okay to leave that 2.5 on it with the sodium chloride on a wound, or do you want to put it on there, let it do its thing, and then get that 6.0 to kind of rinse it off?
So there's a whole protocol for wound care in the ionized water protocols book. And you want to get it because you need to follow it, because there's a lot of steps in there
Okay.
that are not to diss anyone, but there's so many little steps to remember, and if you didn't come up with the protocol yourself like I did and have to do it by trial and error, it's a lot to try to remember. And it's easy to get them mixed up until you've practiced it a few times. So I really think that having the book is the most important thing you can do so that you're following all those steps, because it is important to use the 2.5 water to kill the bacteria, the viruses, the microbes that have come in. But then you need to give it some antioxidants, because that's how healing works in the body. So for instance, if you got a cut or a scrape and it was open to the world, your body would send all kinds of oxidizers to that area to kill those microbes. And then once that had happened, your body would send a flood of antioxidants to that area to mop up the damage that the oxidizers had done to the surrounding tissues and to start the healing process. So you have to look, all of these protocols, what I did is look at how the body normally functions on its own. And then I added in all the steps that you would have to take with the water to mimic how the body actually works. And so then you would go back and rebalance the pH of the outside. The inside of your body is not acidic like the outside of the body is.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the tissue, certain tissues in your body are very acidic. And so that whole idea of alkalinizing your body is, I hope I never hear anyone else ever say that again, because that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is create balance in the body so that tissues that are supposed to be acidic are acidic, and tissues that are supposed to be alkaline are alkaline, and tissues that are neutral should be neutral. So
thank you very much. Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you.
I'm good for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So, want to stay warm in the whole Northeast.
Yeah, something fierce is coming.
Hi, Dr. Parker. I have a question.
Okay.
Can you use the laundry soap for your dishwasher?
I have not been successful at getting that to work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because I don't know why. I think it's just a little bit too, unless you've rinsed your dishes until they're basically clean and you're just trying to sanitize them, it doesn't seem to work very well.
Okay. And then I know that you've had something in your book about like sinuses, like when you get a sinus infection and gunk coming out your nose, like green stuff.
Yeah.
You recommend the 2.5 in the neti potty?
I do, and there's a whole protocol for
Okay.
in the book under the sinuses, and so
Okay.
basically you're going to put the both the 2.5 and the 11.5 really do sting quite a bit when you put them in your nose, so just be prepared for that. But basically what you're going to do is use some 11.5 water and some 2.5 water, and
You do it separate from one another? Hello?
I'm sorry, can you not hear me?
I didn't hear what you said, no.
I said, so if you have an infection going on, the 2.5 water is really important, and you do have to add extra salt to it. So
yeah.
Either, like really, like just add some extra salt to your 2.5 water, and then that will help kill the bacteria, and then you follow that with 11.5 water to rebalance what's going on inside your nasal passages.
Okay. And then gargling the 2.5 is good for like a sore throat?
Yes, and there's a whole protocol for health in the book as well. And so it tells you how and when to do it. Now, I gave myself a pretty nasty cavity in my process of figuring out the oral health portion. So follow the directions and that.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's tough to be your own guinea pig sometimes. Did we lose you, Amanda?
Nope, I'm still here.
Okay, I can't see you anymore. So.
Oh, it's because I stopped talking. And so, Dr. Parker, are we going to keep going tonight? Or are we going to stay an hour, or how are we doing?
I think we probably, let's see if we have one more question.
Okay.
And then we'll close it down.
I do have a question. I have been told by somebody that I should take extra minerals because the water coming from the machine is pulling all of my minerals out.
Okay, so
Is that true or false?
That's false.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's what I thought.
Now, if you were drinking reverse osmosis water, that would be true. This, not true. This water has minerals in it. You know, we do not get the majority of our minerals from water because the minerals that are in water are not organic minerals. They come from the dirt and, you know, from rocks and that kind of thing. And so our human bodies can't assimilate them well at all. And so excess minerals in your water will give you, like excess calcium will make you constipated. It can make gallstones and kidney stones and you know, all kinds of cataracts and all kinds of horrible things. And so too many minerals in your water is not a good thing. That isn't helpful because they're not bioavailable to your body. The minerals that are bioavailable to your human body come from plants and animals who eat plants. And so that's where you want to concentrate. If you're concerned about not having enough minerals, drink some celery juice or drink some green drink or eat a salad and you will have, that's where you're getting your minerals. But for people to tell you that your water is pulling the minerals out of your body is they just don't understand water. Now, if you were drinking distilled water or reverse osmosis water that really has virtually no minerals in it, we do as naturopaths, as a naturopath, I would recommend that somebody use distilled water for a 2-week only period of time if they had a heavy metal issue they were trying to address, because it will actually help pull it out because the water is so devoid of minerals that it can actually help. But only for 2 weeks. After that, you start creating some real, harmful.
Well, thank you so much. Now it makes my argument better.
It has minerals in it. It doesn't, the machine doesn't take the minerals out. It merely ionizes most of them.
I appreciate that information.
Perfect.
Pass it on to her.
So Amanda, do you want to tell them about the book special?
Yes, I do. So what we're offering tonight is a little special for everybody that's been on here. These books here is what I have available in stock. But this one here, the Chemical Free Home, typically $7.95. We're going to do free shipping. Chemical Free Kitchen, kitchen, $7.95. And then this one, my most popular one, is typically $19.99. So we're going to do free shipping on these books as long as you're in the U.S. And then after you get to the $50 mark, Dr. Parker has been so kind. She's going to be adding in a cookbook for you. And that has about a $50 value to that book. So at least that's what we were selling for, $50 a book. So
$43.95.
There we go.
So you will get, if you order $50 worth of product, I will send you a free cookbook. Because how many of us didn't make some kind of resolution about eating better or eating healthier or losing muscles or being nicer to ourselves or cooking more often or whatever? There's usually some food component to most New Year's resolutions.
That's right. So if one of you are interested in that, just private message me on Facebook. Tell me how many you would like, and I'll send you an email from PayPal, and you can pay directly, and then it'll send me the shipping address, and we'll get it right off to you.
Well, I appreciate having you invite me on. You know, I love to do these things. And the reason I have this slide up here is that Amanda and I are working together to come up with an H2O university so that we can put some classes together to help you all get more grounded in how this water works and why it works and how your body works and why this water makes it work better. So we'll be keeping you posted on that.
So excited. I know how much value I got out of your 1 year long class. I'm very excited to see part 1 of the introduction to ionized water. Excited to work with you on that.
Thank you so much.
So thank you again, Dr. Parker. We really appreciate you. And then again, Simple Health Network, is that your Facebook? Okay. Simple Health Network, like her page, and you can ask her questions there too.
I do have one thing to add because I mentioned to everybody and I forgot to tell you. So we've been having these crazy weather like people on the East Coast here in Spokane. We had, snow and then freezing rain on top of the snow, so everything's a sheet of ice. And I fell. And so if that happens to you, should have a little tip for all of you who are about to, on the East Coast, who are about to have the same weather that we're going to have in Spokane, which we've got more freezing rain and snow in our forecast too. You seem to be getting it worse and have lower temperatures than we're going to have, so I'm sorry for you. So get prepared. Make sure that you go to the store and get something, a homeopathic called arnica. Because arnica is a really cool homeopathic that if you have a bump or a bruise or a cut or a scrape and you take that right away, you will have almost no pain, almost no soreness, and almost no bruising. It's miraculous. So it comes in a lot of forms. You can buy it in a tincture, but usually you can get it in those they're like little plastic bottles, and they have little circles of little pellets in it, and you take 3 to 5 pellets. It's kind of amazing. So after I fell, I always have a little first aid kit in my car, and that's one of the things that's in there. And then if you take strong alkaline water and you want to get a hot water bottle and get really hot water in your hot water bottle. And then get a towel with 11.5, a towel or a big gauze pad. Depends on how big of an area you hurt. I kind of hurt a big area. And I hurt my hip, which I was already having problems with, and my shoulder, which I was already having problems with. So at least I didn't injure the other side. That was better, right? If it's going to be bad, it might as well be all on the same side. So you can soak that area. Just put it on your skin, and then put a hot water bottle on top of it so that it's not cold. And it will help penetrate, the antioxidants will help penetrate into the skin and relieve some of the swelling and discomfort and all of those kinds of things. So those are the 2 things to keep in mind. So if you don't have a hot water bottle, get one. If you don't have arnica already, get some. Then you'll be prepared.
Thank you. Hopefully you're doing okay now. Are you feeling better?
But it's a little still kind of pretty sore today. So sitting is good and lying down is okay, and walking is still not my friend. But hopefully by tomorrow it'll be better.
All right. Well, thank you again, Dr. Parker.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody. Stay warm.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you for your time.
So welcome.